Today we're diving into a saga that's shaped our wallets, our nations, and our future. Free trade. With tariffs sparking chaos across the globe in 2025, it's time to uncover why three economic legends, Adam Smith, David Ricardo, and John Stuart Mill, believed open markets could make us all richer. Buckle up. This is going to be a wild ride. Trade is humanity's superpower. From Silk Roads to same-day deliveries, it's how we share goods, ideas, and prosperity. But free trade? That's when countries swap stuff without barriers like tariffs, taxes that hike prices and clog the flow. Free trade's promise is simple: more wealth, more choices, and a world that thrives together. Let's meet the masterminds who cracked this code. First up, Adam Smith, the Scottish thinker who dropped The Wealth of Nations in 1776. His big idea? Trade isn't a brawl, it's a party where everyone wins. The trick? Division of labor. Everyone does what they're best at and the whole pie gets bigger. Smith said we're awesome at specializing. If you're a rock star baker and I'm a knitting ninja, why mess around doing both? You bake, I knit, we trade. And boom, we've got warm socks and fresh bread. Now scale that to countries. Picture France crafting wine like it's poetry, while Japan builds TVs that make our eyes pop. They trade and we're all sipping Merlot while binge-watching on big screens. Smith was obsessed with this pin. Yes, a pin. He visited a factory and lost his mind. One worker draws the wire, another sharpens the tip, a third adds the head. By splitting the job, they made thousands more pins than if each did it solo. That's the division of labor, specialization on steroids. Free trade takes this global, letting nations focus on their superpowers. Why is this a big deal? Specialization skyrockets productivity. You make more with less effort. Free trade spreads that magic worldwide, giving us better goods at lower prices. Smith said tariffs are like throwing sand in the gears. They jack up costs, kill competition, and make us poorer. His big pitch? Let markets flow with the invisible hand, and we all win. Smith also dropped a gem called absolute advantage. Picture Brazil and Germany. Brazil can grow 100 tons of coffee or brew 20 barrels of beer daily. Germany can manage 40 tons of coffee or 80 barrels of beer. Without trade, they split efforts. Brazil makes 50 tons coffee and 10 barrels beer. Germany makes 20 tons coffee and 40 barrels beer. That's 70 tons coffee and 50 barrels beer total. Decent, but watch what happens next. With trade, Brazil focuses on coffee, producing 100 tons, and Germany on beer, hitting 80 barrels. They swap 30 tons coffee for 30 barrels beer. Now Brazil has 70 tons coffee and 30 barrels beer. Way more beer than its solo 10. Germany gets 30 tons coffee and 50 barrels beer. More coffee than its 20th. Total output jumps to 100 tons coffee and 80 barrels beer, beating 70 and 50. Specialization and trade make everyone richer. But what if one country's better at everything? Hold that thought. Our next hero's got the answer. Enter David Ricardo, the rock star economist of the 1800s. If Smith was Yoda, Ricardo's Tony Stark, brilliant, bold, and ready to rewrite the rules. In 1817, he dropped a bombshell on the principles of political economy. That's still blowing minds. Comparative advantage. This says every country can win at trade, even if one's a superstar at everything. Let's break it down with a tale. Picture the USA and Japan, two giants rocking a World Trade Expo. The USA is a powerhouse, building 100 cars or 200 trucks daily. Japan's strong, crafting 80 cars or 100 trucks. The USA is better at both, but let's check opportunity costs. For the USA, each car costs 2 trucks. For Japan, it's 1.25 trucks. Japan's edge is cars. For trucks, the USA sacrifices 0.5 a car per truck, less than Japan's 0.8 car USA's truck champ. Imagine no trade. Each country works solo. The USA builds 50 cars and 100 trucks a day. Japan makes 40 cars and 50 trucks. Together, that's 90 cars and 150 trucks. Not bad, but far from ideal. Now enter Ricardo's genius, specialization. The USA focuses only on trucks, producing 200 a day. Japan specializes in cars, making 80. Then they trade, 1.5 cars for each truck. With trade, the USA gives up 40 trucks to get 60 cars from Japan. That leaves them with 160 trucks and 60 cars, more cars than if they built them themselves. The USA effectively gets 3 cars for every 2 trucks it trades, way better than the 1 car for 2 trucks it gets at home. Japan gets a more balanced outcome too. Total output with trade? 80 cars and 200 trucks. That's a big jump from the old 90 cars and 150 trucks. Everybody wins. The global expo's buzzing. That's the magic. The USA can make cars, but it gets more by trading trucks. Japan can build trucks, but it's better off trading cars. But the story doesn't stop with Ricardo. Enter John Stuart Mill, the 1800s visionary who tied it all together. Think of him as the architect bridging Adam Smith's optimism and Ricardo's logic. In 1848, Mill's Principles of Political Economy elevated free trade, showing it's not just about today's gains, it's about tomorrow's growth. Mill built on Ricardo's comparative advantage, but saw deeper, dynamic gains. Let's revisit Japan and Brazil at our trade expo 10 years on. Japan, specializing in cars, faces competition and innovates. Its factories now churn out cutting-edge electric vehicles, boosting efficiency by 30%. Brazil, exporting coffee, uses profits to modernize. New irrigation doubles yields and trade revenue builds schools, raising literacy from 80% to 95%. Trade doesn't just mean more cars and coffee, it fuels progress, innovation, and skills. Mill saw trade as a peacekeeper too. Countries that rely on each other, like Japan buying Brazil's coffee, Brazil importing Japan's cars, hesitate to fight. Studies show since 1945, trade partners have been 50% less likely to go to war. Free trade binds nations, fostering stability alongside wealth. From the 1940s, nations slashed tariffs through the GATT and later the WTO. Global tariffs dropped from 40% in 1947 to under 5% by 2000. The result? Global GDP soared, tripling from 1950 to 2000. Your morning coffee from Brazil, your Japanese car, your affordable shoes? Free trade made them possible, proving Smith, Ricardo, and Mill right. Mill wasn't naive, though. He knew young industries in places like Brazil might need temporary tariffs, like training wheels, to grow. In the 1900s, Brazil used coffee tariffs to fund its farms, eventually becoming a global leader. But Mill warned, keep tariffs too long and you breed inefficiency or corruption, like Brazil's 1980s car industry, where protected firms overcharged for outdated models. Free trade remains the goal. Economist Frederick Bastiat agreed, mocking tariff lovers in 1845 with his satirical Candlemakers petition, claiming the sun's free light hurt candle sales. His point? Protectionism often hides absurdity, hurting consumers more than it helps. Fast forward to 2025, and the free trade era faces cracks. US-China tariffs now cover $500 billion in goods, and the EU's pushing green tariffs on imports. Is this progress or a step back to the slow lane Mill feared? In part 2, we'll unpack this fight and what's next.